Hello and welcome to Gabbett Media. I'm Grant Abbott and today we're going to do a bit of sculpting. So this is a beginner's session. We're going to be sculpting a basic head, and this is to get you used to the tools, having a bit of a play around and a kind of discovery session. So if you're completely new, you might want to take a look at the other two videos where I go through the tools. And also I'm using a graphics tablet. I have a list of graphics tablets, links in the description, and do check out my website for more sculpting courses. So here's my basic startup screen, and I can go to the Sculpting tab here. That's the easiest way to start. It starts with a subdivided cube. I'll just change Blender to full screen mode and press N to bring up my panel, and I've got some shortcut keys just here, so you'll see them down at the bottom here. I'll press N to get rid of that panel again. Now if I press Z and wireframe, you can see this subdivided cube here that's a nice sphere with good topology, and that's what we're going to be using. So I'll just go back to solid mode, Z on my keyboard, and I'm going to expand my brushes out so you can read what they are. Now at the moment, if I sculpt on this, everything's fine, but if I start pulling things around, let's say I use the grab brush and start grabbing stuff out, can you see my topology distorts? And that's because it's keeping the same topology all the way around. If I go into wireframe mode again, and it thins out at the end. Back to solid mode, so I'm going to undo those strokes. What I need to use is dynamic topology. So if I go to my tool settings up here, so these are the tools for sculpt mode, and there's dynamic topology just there. I'll tick that. Now at the moment we've got relative detail just here. I like to change that to constant detail. I think that's easier. I think that's easier for beginners to get to grips with. It means when I draw with the draw brush, it's creating the same topology whether I'm zoomed in or out. You can see it's making a mess of my object at the moment because it's very low resolution. So I'll undo those strokes and I'll put the resolution up to 20. And there we go, that's fine. I always start on a low resolution, and when I go to the details, that's when I up the resolution. So we're going to make a face. The first tool you'll want to use is the snake hook tool, and you'll want to deform your sphere, which is a perfect ball at the moment, into more of a head shape. And we're going to make a sort of caricature. So F to resize your brush and make it nice and big. And I'll zoom out a bit as well. So I'm holding control and I've set up my middle mouse button to be my button on my pen for my tablet. You can see where you're looking because it's on the top corner here. So there's the front view because the x-axis is going across here. And I'm gonna go round to side view and just pull up the head slightly to about here. And then back to front view and pull out the head so it's more of a sort of upside down egg. So I'll need to keep moving around my mesh to get into the right position. So we've got a sort of upside down egg like this. So let's do the neck next. So I'm on side view, zoom in just a touch, and let's pull a neck down. Okay, now when I go around to front view, you'll see that it's obviously mirroring in the x-axis because down the bottom here we've got the mirror in the x-axis turned on, but it makes it very wide, so I'll need to push that inwards like this. Okay, so we've got a really basic neck at the moment. So we'll want to turn this into a bit more of a neck shape, so I'll move in a bit more. If I hold down shift, it will use the smooth brush. You can see when I drag across my mesh, it flicks to the smooth brush. So holding down shift is to smooth. And let's bring my brush down just a touch with F and pull out this neck and use the shift tool to smooth it off a bit. So I'm in front view and I just pull it out a bit, pull it in here, round to the back and pull the back in there. Shift to smooth, and the front needs to come up here as well, like this. So you can see I'm getting a very, very basic neck and a basic head shape. Now the neck at the moment is too far back this way, so if I, still on my snake hook tool, just make my brush very, very big, I can click right in the middle of it and move it more into the middle like that. And there we're getting there, just with the neck. Right to the back of the head now. Move in, and we'll move this in just a touch, and shift to smooth. So we're getting a basic head shape here. It's very round at the moment. Can you see it's got very roundish? So I'm going to pull that in. So get the sides of the head, pull that in like this. And remember, we're going for a caricature look, and maybe just pull in just a touch at the front there. Okay, maybe a touch thinner on the neck as well. So just in here, pull it in, and always circle around your image and see what it's looking like in 3D. Don't just work on the front here, because suddenly you'll go to the side and it will all be out. So just a tiny bit of work to smarten our shape up. Excellent. So it's important to get your head shape fairly correct to start with before you move on to anything else. Now I think the front's sticking out a bit too far, so I'm going to move into that. So I'll spend a fair bit of time getting this shape right. So it might take us a while to get into the nitty-gritty details. Let's pull this back just a touch as well. And then the last bit, his cheekbones, I'm just going to move those back. He's sort of got slight cheekbones there, you see. Okay, so the next bit being the nose. I'll come into about this distance, make my brush about this big, and make sure I'm trying to click on the very front point here. If I click here to pull a nose out, it's going to pull two noses out. That's not going to work. So I want to go to sort of side view here, get the very front point, and pull out a big nose. Okay, so it's very wide, it looks more like a duck. But we can start adapting that. So pull these bits in, especially where the eyes are going to meet. We're going to pull those in, and we're going to start creating our eye shape. Can you see that there? So pulling that in, maybe up just a touch, so the bridge of the nose follows the eyebrows like this. Okay, so he's got a very big nose. The nostrils are coming out too far, so we'll pull those back. And can you see it sort of created a natural line down here, which is good, that's what we need. And it's a bit weighted at the moment. We do need to bring our neck forward a bit more, but I'm going to bring the chin down a bit as well in a second. So you keep moving around your object, making sure you're happy with how it looks. We'll put some ears in now. Now ears are a little bit tougher, more awkward to do with the snake hook tool, but we'll give it a go. Bring my brush down a bit and just bring two blobs out like this. Okay, so we've got the rough area of the ear. The ears should follow the top of the eye and the bottom of the nose. That's roughly where the ears will go, and it's slightly towards the back of the head in this case anyway. Obviously if you're doing some weird characters, they might be disproportionate. It's a touch high at the moment. Bring it down a bit and bring the base down to the bottom of my nose like I said. Just bring this bit back, and now I'm going to start bringing the ears out. So I can click and drag that out and out there. Top of the ear being bigger, so we'll make that bigger, but we don't want it to go too high. So there we go, we've got a very basic ear, but again, always moving around your object, making sure you can see what it looks like in 3D. So we need to bring the ears in now, so I'll zoom in a bit, make my brush a bit bigger with F, and start pushing these bits in. And adapt your ear shape as you see fit. And if you need to, if it's a bit blobby around here, which mine is, shift and drag for the smooth brush. Okay, so we're getting a very basic character at the moment. Not looking too bad. I do want to move this neck, so I'm going to do that now. It needs to come forward a bit, so it's got a bit more balance and weight at the front. You can sort of do a bust as well, so sort of a bust there and a bust coming out here. That sometimes helps your characters look a bit more real and gives them the proper weight. And I'll move this neck right in, so he's going to have a very thin neck like this, and a thin neck here. And shift to smooth out. There we go, we're looking okay. And I'll just give him a bit more of a back, just there. Busts usually sort of go down at the front and up at the back like this. That's nice. I feel like his nose sticks out a bit too far at the moment, but we'll sort these things out. I'm going to give him a bit of a cheekbone now. So nice big brush again. I'm working with a big brush still on the same tool, which is this snake hook tool. So I'm pulling those cheekbones up and out very slightly. Okay, so the nose for me is sticking out too far still. I think that's because the nostrils stick out too far. So with my big brush still, pull those nostrils back a bit more. And maybe his nose can sort of point down a bit like this. And the bridge of his nose can go up a bit like this. Oh yes, we're starting to get there now. So always work on the basic shape first. Get your proportions fairly correct. Obviously this is a caricature, so the proportions are slightly odd, but get them where you're happy with them first before going in and doing any eyes or mouths or anything like that, because those are the detailed areas. Okay, so I want the chin to be a bit bigger. So I'm going to come in here, nice big brush still. I really am starting to sound a lot like Bob Ross. Sorry about that. It's not intentional. Okay, let's pull this chin down and out, so he's going to have a weird sort of character look about him. Now that's a very sort of double chin. Can you see what I mean about pulling out from the side like this? You get that sort of mirrored effect. So I'm going to pull this in and smooth it out at the end there. Pull it in, smooth it out, and then pull it down. So you can have a pointy chin, you can have a fat chin if you like, but we need an area for the mouth just here. So I'm just fiddling around a touch and smooth out a little bit. And then move out and see what you've got. Remember, just the basic shape, don't add any details. So now I need to start thinking about the mouth, pulling in these cheekbones slightly, or this cheek area, not the cheekbone, sorry, the cheek area just here. So pull in the cheeks, pull out the cheekbones, create an area for the eye, and sort the mouth out. Okay, so let's sort the cheeks out first. So create a sort of 3D feeling. So there's a curve going around here like that, around there. Lots of people make their faces very flat at the front because they're continually working from front view rather than moving around their object. So we're getting there. Let's sort this cheekbone out a bit. Just making minor adjustments, still with a very big brush. Let's pull this eye in a bit more. Use the smooth brush there. Certainly getting there. And then just a slight lump for the mouth. So I'm actually going to change my brush finally to the draw brush, still nice and big. And just an area for the mouth there. That's about right, but I'm going back to my snake hook tool now. Big brush. Move that up just a touch. Because remember, he's have a big chin and not a big mouth. Got a nice big smile now. Okay, so we're starting to see our character emerge. So at this point, we can start thinking a bit about the details. So there's a second stage of details. I'm just going to smarten up the back first though, because he's got this sort of lump sticking out here. So I'll push that in and hold the shift button and smooth it out. That's a bit better. And our character is already starting to look kind of nice. Okay, so for the eyes, I don't think it's a good idea to sculpt the eyes. You can do, it's fine, but it's nice to have just a sphere because eyes are perfect spheres. So I'm going to insert a sphere in here. I think it's a little bit easier if I go to layout mode. So with this little plus up here, and where it says general, go to layout. And that way I've got my layout ready and I can put my eyeball in. So Shift A to add, Shift A to add, or go to the add menu up here. Shift A will do this. Add menu, mesh, and then UV sphere. A perfectly round sphere in the wrong place. So we press G to grab to move it into position, or you can use the manipulator up here, the manipulator tool, and bring it across into position, and then the scale tool there, or S to scale. G to grab, and just move this into position and make sure it's the right size for your character. So is he going to have small eyes, big eyes? Up to you. Okay, the easiest way, if you're not used to using Blender much, then just copy that with Shift D and then press X to constrain it to the X axis and move it across the other side and get it pretty much in the same place. Remember, we're using the mirror, so we want it almost in exactly the same place. The other way, which is a bit more complicated, so I'm undoing that, is using the mirror tool. So if I come to my modifiers with this spanner just here, add modifier, mirror. Now nothing will happen because it's mirroring by its object origin, which is right in the center. So it is perfectly symmetrical, so we're not seeing anything happen. We want to mirror by object. So if I press mirror object, use my picker and pick my person, that means it will use the center point of my person, which is right in the middle of the grid, and therefore go to the other side nicely. Don't press apply, just leave it there and that'll be fine. It's not particularly smooth at the moment. We can add another modifier to this. If you just press Ctrl 2, it adds a subdivision surface modifier just here with 2 subdivisions, and that makes it look nice and smooth. Okay, so we want to go back to sculpt mode. Let's go back to sculpt mode, but I've made a mistake there. What mistake have I made? I'm still on my spheres. So be careful when you're in layout mode, make sure you reselect your face, then go into sculpt mode. So now I'm back to moving my character around. So let's start setting up our eyeballs with a bit more detail. So nice big brush again. And now we can sort the cheekbones out, get them into a nice position, and sort our brow out. My brush might be a bit too big now. And I'm doing this all with the snake hook tool. So big adjustments with the snake hook. It's got a nice sort of eye socket around there. The eyes are probably a bit wide at the moment, so what I'm going to do is pull that in and pull this out just a touch. And it's starting to make more sense. That's great. And now at this point we can start adding a tiny bit of detail. The way I add detail is with the draw brush and the crease brush. So we'll start with the draw brush. Make my brush a bit smaller now and get ready with my lips. So I'm drawing some lips here and smooth those out just a touch. I'll use the draw brush up the top on his brow as well and on the front of his nose. And if I hold down Control, I can create a dent. So I'm creating a dent around here for his nose. Light strokes to start with, just to make subtle changes. So if I make really big changes, it's a bit too drastic. So light strokes, just to get these subtle changes to start with. In the ear, there needs to be a bit more detail, so I can press Control and dig in to the ear like that. So I'm making fairly big adjustments here. And then a big hole here, maybe make my brush a bit smaller. And there's a basic ear, a very, very basic ear. Probably need a bit of smoothing around the top and around the bottom. And we might need an earlobe here, so I can actually draw that in. I could do that with the snake hook tool as well. Probably should have done that with the snake hook tool to be fair. But smoothing out and making sure that we're happy with the look of our ear. Now our ear needs to push in at the back, so I can press Control and lightly brush inwards, and using the smooth tool as well to smooth that out and make sure it blends into the rest of our skull. So smoothing this area out, making sure it blends in. Okay, so that's the draw brush, and then the crease brush. The crease brush adds lots of detail. It's like you're drawing your lines if you're sketching. So we have a line down here, don't we, for the mouth and up around the nostril. So it digs into your shape and creates those lines. So you can see now I'm starting to add some detail. This is a bit too much to start with, so that was just to show you the brush. Can you see how the nostril needs to come back further though? So back to the snake hook tool, reasonably big brush, and let's move this nostril back into position. Squeeze that bit together. And then it needs to come out here. I can use my draw brush for this one. Smooth it out if I've got any sort of lumpy bits that I don't want. And there we go, not looking too bad. I can use my draw brush again, under the nose this time. So moving around my object again, Control, and then paint in here. And we've got some nostrils. So onto the mouth, back to our crease brush, into the mouth, and a reasonably smallish brush, we'll say, and we'll draw a mouth. Now the lips are interesting. They sort of go in this little smile and then they go down like this. So sort of mini smile and down. And can you see the lips are sort of working? He's a bit grumpy at the moment actually. It probably went down a bit too far. We can go up at the end if you like, and he has a weird grin now. A weird sort of smile. I'm going to undo that though. So at this point you might start thinking, I need some more detail. But that's about as far as I would go with the lips at the moment, because we might want to move them around. You don't want to go to any sort of pinching and smartening up just yet. There's still a few more areas we need to tidy up before we move on to the detailed stage. So around the chin, I can dent in here and make a nice defined jawline into here, and a dent in here, sort of where the clavicle meets. And that's a good start. I'm just going to go around the back of the ears with this crease brush and come in here as well. And I think that's a nice starting point for you now to go in and add some detail. So when you start doing that, and I'll leave you to have a go and experiment with these things, bring the resolution up. You can sometimes double it to 40, depends on what your computer can handle, but that's not that high really. And then you can start going in with your crease brush or your draw brush and adding elements that you think are important, maybe around the eyes. You can have eyelids if you want. They don't always have to have eyelids. Wrinkles up here, so a brow line. Areas around the lips, so a dent up there. Thicken the lips a little bit. Using the smooth brush here as well, smooth areas out. Back to your crease brush. Now the crease brush can be nice. I'll show you one more bit of detail. If you hold down Control with the crease brush, it will pull out a crease for you. So you can smarten up your lips with that. You might have to use the smooth tool combined with that as well. And you can use the other brush that I love, the pinch brush. And that just pulls your topology together. So it doesn't add any topology, it just pulls it together. So you can now go in and start having some fun adding the detail you like. Don't be afraid to go back to the snake hook tool and start pulling your mesh around, but at this point you should be making minor changes and not huge changes to your mesh. And there we have it, a basic caricature man. Hopefully that wasn't too detailed for you, and hopefully you got something from this, going through the tools and my basic workflow for starting off characters. Do remember to look at the website for more courses on sculpting and more information on things like graphics tablets. Do post in the comments below to show me how you're getting on, and if you have any ideas for other tutorials, then comment below as well. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helps.